Welcome back. In this session, we will hear Arzu Çelik. Well, she's going to talk about environmental design in games. And as well, she will focus on the issue from an architectural point of view. And she will give us some hints about the environmental design. Now, I would like to give the floor to her, Arzu Çelik. Hello, Arzu, welcome. You can start when you're ready. I'm ready. I can just start right away. I share my screen now. I guess you see it right now. Yes. Well, hello, everybody. Today, I'll talk about the issue of environmental design in games, and I'll just ask the question, does the architectural overview matter? I'll talk about some different steps, but first, let me ask you, does the architectural overview matter? Well, in this presentation, we will get the answer to this question. Multidisciplinary fields, areas, well, I'll just approach to it from a general perspective, and I will actually divide it into the sub-segmentations because it's just really important to talk about how game design enriches the whole processes. Well, it's going to be a long journey. I want you to sit very comfortably, please. But it is really important who is with you in this journey. So that's why I'd like to start with the page of who am I. My name is Deniz. I am a game designer and I'm the co-founder of Tundra Games. We developed a project in Atom. It is Atom, a Middle East Technical University, Technokent, and also I am working as a design consultant for the UNDP Turkey for the Turkey Resilience Project in response to the Syrian crisis. And also I graduated from Hacettepe University from the Department of Computer Animation and Game Technologies. And as well, I did a master degree. Well, why? Because I'm an architect myself. So I am a multidisciplinary designer myself. So in the game sector, I believe that people coming from the multidisciplinary areas just enrich this sector and field. So that was my self-promotion. And now I'll talk about actually the coming step, some new concepts I'll talk about, and I will talk about as well a multidisciplinary concept. Well, generally, I received a question from LinkedIn saying that, hello, Arzu. Well, I am an engineer of mapping. I'd like to be a game designer. Do you think that I'll be stable for that or not? Yes, a survey engineer also can work in this area. You can bring a lot of different approaches. I think that engineering field really contributes into this field because engineers can really understand very well the coding infrastructure. So that's why they can be really great developers. And also for the design sectors, including the architecture, graphic design, interior design and interior architecture. Well, all these different fields will enrich actually your perspective. So that's why I believe that people coming from different backgrounds and cultures and fields will really contribute into this field a lot. This is how I believe. I studied in different fields and as well my master is as well is different, and yes, you can really study on this issue. Well, the door is knocked. I don't know who is this. Anyways, in Turkey, about this issue, we have great actually institutions and universities. So I believe that anyone who is interested can work very professionally in this field. Well, exactly. This is what I have done. I really love this field. Yes, I am an architect myself, and as well, I did my master's degree in the gaming field. So I believe that I really can contribute into the sector a lot. Okay, I want you to really dream. This is actually what I say and claim. I think that if you would like to design the perfection, you really need to look at the nature. This is how I have believed in and thought about during my education. I think that the perfection really lies in the nature. Why? Because in the game there is an architecture, but if you're a designer, well, of course, during the design phase, you are just making a lot of planning and organization. Well, if you're a level designer or an environment designer, it's just like really important for you to observe the arounds, environment, nature. And if you want to really improve your actual imagination, it's just like really important to make an observation. Let me give you an example. Turkish airline logo. When it was designed for the first time, wild birds actually were the inspiration for the designer. So nature, environment, animals were observed by the designer and reflected the wild birds into the logo of Turkish Airlines. And if we really can observe what's around us, we can really get very creative and we can be full of inspiration. Now I'd like to show to you a picture. When you look at it, yes, this is a photo. It's not a modeling, by the way. However, I'd like to play with its colors a little bit. And now I'm going to add a music to it. And just tell me what you are dreaming of, what you are imagining. Well, you can, if you want, close your eyes, or you can have like an open eye, but I want you to really dream. I will just now start the music. You analyze this visual right now. I want really you to please fantasize about this photo. And I want you to guide, I would like to guide you. You are an environment designer. You might be living in the Middle Age, or you might be in modern times. Just look at this photo with this music and just tell me what you're dreaming of, what you're thinking of. You can share your comments, by the way, in the chat. Now let's continue with the second part. Well, the music was from a Middle Age, actually, time. So here you see the tents. Well, we have seen actually the the tents, and we have seen the nature. We have heard the song music from the Middle Ages. But if I really actually create all my environment with this concept, it wouldn't be really actually enough. I need extra references. So again, I'm looking at the nature myself, because what happens now is happening in the nature. So if your team is realized in another time or in another dimension or in another piece of actually time, then your references shall be different. By the way, I love traveling. I am a huge fan of traveling. Well, by the way, when I was a student, we used to go to the fields for observation to the landscapes because I was studying landscaping architecture, and then we were actually making our projects. It is a habit for me. So I am reflecting it to the game industry by adopting this approach. Actually choreography. If it belongs to the nature, then I'll go out to the nature and I'll walk around the nature. Well, if it is a still-like project, then I just can go to the streets of a city and walk around. Well, if you really like walking around and if you're a traveler such as me, you can maybe just record short videos, take photos, and you can create your own choreography if you want. Because I think that such visuals will really guide you and inspire you. Here, what do we see? We have the nature, we have a swing, we have tents. This is actually the complementary photo of the first photo. And again, let me play the video. And now we have the perspective of a designer. This is original sound, by the way. This is the real sound of the nature. While designing the game, this is the sound that I am focusing on, and I am adding what I'm seeing into my memory. And I am just trying to create a whole out of the concept. Because, oh, by the way, I have to tell you, if you are an indie designer, then what I'm saying is valid. But if you are working in a big studio, and if you are the environment designer in a big studio, well, such processes actually exist in such big studios. So you don't have to do it everything. You can do it partially because there are duties and the tasks in the big studios. But if you are an independent developer, if you are an indie, then what I'm saying, all these tips and clues would really help you out, because you have to do it everything yourself, and you have to be really careful about the design points. And here there is a nature journey, and you would like to really develop a great game as an indie, and you see this empty swing. Well, you can have the medieval age actually concept, or it might be a horror concept, and still you can pivot inside of your concept. Well, by the way, I said a horror concept. What do I mean? I'll tell you. In the concept of horror, if you take out the bird sound and replace it with a really actually scary music, then it will be a dark actually scene and a stage. And this scene can be actually for a horror game afterwards. So before you start the environment design, it's really important for you to dream and collect references, and as well create a reference and a concept. These are very, very important. And now let me continue with the second thing. Let's dream. This is a continuous process. Now, I want you to divide environment design into two categories. Well, actually, I had planned it as three categories in the first place, but then I just changed it into two because I think that we can harmonize two of them together. Well, when we say environment design, we do not mean a landscape design only. I think that a landscape design can divide into two. The first thing is designing the natural places. And the second thing is you can design architectural and structural spaces. And the third thing is you can get the natural actually spaces and combine it with the architectural structures, and you will maybe create something really brilliant. Well, Matri Media of Edith Finch. it is actually a structure, a building that is not really possible to construct in real life, or it can be a space house. Well, it depends on actually your imagination. These are all very imaginary products, and it's really important for you to just really handle two important elements. And let me tell you, well, let me tell you one thing. Everything might be really good, but how to handle the architectural perspective. When we think especially of the professional as well discipline, I think that we can really create great landscape designs. Well, when I was a student at my master's degree as well, I did some projects, and these are examples from my actually projects. Well, we did a lot of mistakes and errors, and we searched for new things back then. Today's infrastructure was actually even composed by all these initial projects. We had a lesson. I had a lesson called game design. Well, you have to do the documentation of a design. It's just like a package that you create with a concept and you offer it to your professor. Well, we designed, I remember, a race, and it was actually a garden race of a house. Yes, that's true. So just think of a garden of a house. A landscape architect, first should really create a concept starting with the flowers to plant, and as well, I think that the race course and the race track as well are really important. You have to give a dimension to the race tracks, and you need to really just pre-plan it. And by the way, objects. An object in the game, if it is maybe a barrier or a challenge during the game, of course, you do not have to do it realistic, because in art, you can use exaggeration. However, coherency is highly important. So that's why we really need to look at it with an artistic way. And here you see on the right side a script plate, and on the left side, you see it is application in the landscape architecture. And now let me continue with the bottom picture. It is for the, well, by the way, I'll talk at the end of my presentation of the sources for you to apply it yourself. But Unreal training, I actually received such tutorials and trainings. There are packages, there are videos, you can just watch and recreate your own actually universe. It is really easy to do it. I will share actually which sources they use in the end of my presentation. The most important point in this visual, on the bottom photo, you see a very natural look. While it is sunset, there are soft colors. This is how the environment is designed. Do you know what's the most striking thing is? It is post-edit. Well, it's about lightening and the sets of colors, small details. Unreal Engine has a great actually ability, which is any design object, when you put it in Unreal, the Unreal platform, because of its dimensional coloring, well, it would just create an amazing look. Well, we cannot say Unreal is a great engine and we will just put everything into that. No, this is not the case. Well, we really have to make all the adjustments and changes ourselves, little by little, because landscape actually design can be a workshop team all alone. Well, you can make an environment design. Maybe in the future we can all do it. Anyways, theoretically, let me again just say, here you would see the grass and the stones, their dimensions, their position. And here you will see a small house and as well the lighthouse. They are positioned to one another. Well, these are all very aesthetical and artistic, actually, looks of all these different objects. And now let's talk about architectural and structural spaces. So these are the visuals from one of my first projects. We used as well the Unreal platform. By the way, Professor Dr. Hakan Tüzün was my professor back then. When he saw my project for the first time, he told me, well, this building, was it designed by Arzu? And I said, I respond by saying, yes, professor. And he told me, well, I'm asking this because this is an architectural structure. It is quite specific. And I see here an architectural approach. Well, I would like to congratulate you because you did it very well. Well, also, I have to thank the Indieway because this team, I really wanted to make a presentation about this team. I'd like to thank the Indieway for their actually invitation. Thank you, really. Well, anyways, so this is the architectural and structural spaces, lighting. Well, I did it on Unreal Engine. Everything look really elegant, beautiful. Anyone who would like to make an environment design, I will recommend Unreal Engine. And by the way, some managers might ask you, well, why? Well, I really love Unreal Engine because I always have aesthetic actually concerns. It might be because of who am I or my background or my profession. I like to really reflect my art and artistic approach. Unreal is great for that. Of course, you can do some similar things in Unity, but it's not as strong as the Unreal Engine. Okay, now let me continue with the next topic. All these structures, architectural structures, if you really combine them all together, you can really create beautiful things out. One thing, designers, I'm sure they know it all. However, I know that there are people coming from different backgrounds. So I think that what I'm telling you is quite valuable because there are designers coming in different design faculties and they would know that we have the basic design principles that we learn on the first grade, such as the color, hierarchy, coherency. This is how you create your design. And this is also the case for the game design. You combine it all and you create an output. Sometimes you just copy it totally, but sometimes you can be creative and you can really actually produce something quite original. Collecting references, dreaming, matching them with music. I have to tell you, if you are interested in design and if you'd like to progress in design, I'd like to share my personal experience actually. It is something I do. While designing something, please just listen and music with your headset. It doesn't matter what type of a music it is. Just please use your earplugs and just listen a song or a music. It will really inspire you. Even these musics can be maybe incoherent with what you are designing. Because concepts, perspectives are really important and these are going to really somehow just keep you inside of this universe. Okay, if you are an independent developer and if you are making an environment design in Unreal Engine, there are some steps. What are these? First of all, you have to define your needs. Just get a paper and a pen. and say, today, I'm going to design a game which will take place in the planet Mars. And within this concept, I'll do this or that. And I'm going to use this structure or that structure. Well, I might need this or that. So it is really important to get an inventory. Well, it is like an inventory analysis. It is a term that's used very frequently in architecture department, but you can as well use this here in the gaming. Right after setting your needs, maybe you can do something like that. Yes, the game will take place in actually Mars, but you have to create an artistic actually language.
Or else you can bring along the French gardens on Mars. So that's why you should have an arts language. If you are the only developer, which is difficult, supposing that you are the single developer, you have to do everything yourselves, and then there is no problem. The arts language that you do, you can transfer it to your design, translate it into your design. But game is a teamwork. That's why you need more than one person. Supposing that you're the lead artist, you launch, you release everything, you're going to be distributing everything to your team. So this arts language, you have to translate it to your team so that your game becomes holistic. If not, there would be a few levels and scenes in the concept that you launch, which is going to like create an impression like, yes, I mean, they make me play a Gothic game, but what is this modernism all about? That's why you having a arts language is really important. And based on the numbers of a number of people in your team, you should specify that. And also, when it comes to environmental design, actually, collecting references are really important because you can enrich your world, your imaginary world. So how can you collect these references on internet, on Pinterest, or else by photographing the places that you go, by surfing on ArtStation, by having, do not say that you copy these things, but those tiny little things, how they use, you just see it so that you create your own style. And then you would say, like I always talk about architecture, but let me also say that if you're a designer, the actually line that you draw should belong to you, and many years later somebody looking at that draw should say that this has been done by Ahmet, Arzu, so on and so forth. This goes the same for environmental design in games. By looking at their draws, the sketch, you would notice who has done that. So if you want to be a perfect environmental designer, if you want your name to be heard, you should have your own style, your own lines, and you should proceed accordingly. References. We've collected from examples, from pictures, places that we've been to, internet, video. This is a technological era, so you can collect plenty of references from wherever you like. And Pinterest is a really nice resource. Well, it sounds as if I am advertising Pinterest, but you can really gather fantastic resources on Pinterest as well. Okay, so after we gather those references, what should we do? We should create our two-dimensional concepts. Why is that so? Because a two-dimensional sect can be translated into 3D. So in this respect, either we do our concept designs or else we have it done. What is healthy here is for you to have these done, because not everybody can do everything. They can do that, so, but everybody, if they like become an expert on certain thing, they more focus on that area. And once they focus on that area more, they become more creative. And in this respect, concept design drawings, sketches, if you do have it done by a person that you rely on it, you would have really good results. You could say that you're an independent developer, you don't have any chance to have it done. So in that respect, you may not have the talent for hand drawing, but practice is everything. Practice makes perfect. So if you have the time, again, on the internet, there are websites concerning these designs like Udemy or else YouTube videos, and you could like do research as to how these drawing can be done. You can just get a sketch book, for instance, and first of all, you could like draw it by looking at it, and then after you collect the references, you can easily do the drawings. There is no point or else meaning in this sketch to look really perfectly, but what is important is that environmental artists will give the final touches on the software anyways, so you did not spend a lot of time, but this is a really important aspect. So after, while we continue creating our game, we should come up with an art and asset pipeline. What are our textures, concept, our materials? However, these objects, materials and textures, while defining them, the thing that we have to take into account is that they should reflect the concept that we want to reflect. I don't want to give an example referring to an individual. However, like I am not going to be talking about that era. I mean, in a random era, these when we were designing a game, and there was this irrelevant project from an irrelevant time slot. This should not be the case. If, for instance, you are designing the French gardens, you should do a search on French culture, and you should collect the French references who are in command of that history. And if you do that, so then you would have full command of their cultural texture, so on and so forth. That's why art and asset pipeline is important. Prepare them, put them aside, because if you are an independent developer and if you're doing everything yourselves, with this ranking, by separating them aside, sometime a time will come whereby you will have to use them. But if you've done a job distribution, what you can do is that, which would be the most appropriate method, a friend of yours could be an assetter, a 3D person. This person would actually create the objects that are defined in your concept, and while creating those objects, the other one could like do the blockouts on Unreal. Blockouts, well, the level designer, the areas, the rules, for instance, they define it. And that box-like objects they are, because this is a really lengthy period. You cannot do everything at the same time, all at a time. So the game developer cannot stop, or as the level designer, because before starting the game, you should have a design documentation, and based on that design documentation, each one of yours job description should be specific. Even if you are the only person doing that, you should have a ranking, a list that you rank what is going to be done first, and then second, and then third, so on and so forth. And then comes blockout, as I said. After blockouts are completed, the final touches will be done by the environmental artists. What are they? Namely, I mean, the texture which has been defined, materials, objects, color, audio, lighting, all these objects are brought together and an artistic touch is given. And this is where environmental artist actually brings in the flavor, the beauty to that. Kind of, it's like a post-edit process, the final process, which is, yes. As a designer, I always talk about aesthetics, aesthetics, and aesthetics, but people who are listening to me, developers, I mean, they don't want to like maybe fall into that aesthetical trap, and from Unreal Market they have bought the wrong product in Blender, they haven't done anything with topography. I'm sure developers are thinking of all these challenges. So uh, what is important here is that if you have received the training of these profession, even if you are an environmental designer, you would know the needs of a developer and do the design accordingly. And in this respect, you should not actually. By the way, am I still visible? Yes, we can see. It was a live session. Unfortunately, accident, I guess, or not a problem. Okay, so um, you shouldn't exaggerate aesthetical concerns. And uh, by the way, the details of this is another type of presentation subject. So that's why I will just be elaborating on the fundamentals. We design the environment, the nature. While we do that, so the objects that we use, for instance, think of a stone with algae on it. You're going to be placing it in the nature, more than one stones you're going to be designing, but these multiple stone actually will be too much on the processors. Should I have to put all these stones? Yes. And if you place each stone the same way, that unfortunately seen would look fake. And in that respect, we have to make the material concrete. On Unreal, it is called the instances material, and in Unity, it is called prefab. So the object, what do you do by making it concrete? Algorithmically, actually, you play around with the values. This copying, you do it based on these values, these numbers, these figures. Like you do a small change on the color parameter or else the size parameters, and you concrete the material, and you do not have any problem with fab, and you can multiply that stone really easily. And then the second point is that you have to use low poly as much as possible. Yes, on Unity you use low poly, and mobile games it is not a problem, but I use an engine like Unreal, and I artistically with details want to focus on the object. I want to design something really brilliant. Okay, there is a solution to that as well. You would model the object as low poly. However, the details of it, the material, the textures, for instance, over Photoshop, you could define the basis of it. And on Unreal, while texturing it, that when you link the straws together, that low poly object would turn into a fantastic one, which is a fantastic game scene. In order to place something really in detail, you don't need a high poly object modeling. Of course, the round shapes, these triangles, for instance, yes, they increase the load a lot, but on blenders, you have the order to reduce it. Maya is a really good program, but with the latest updates, Blender has become really perfect. And compared to Maya, you can do many things really much convenient, faster, and you can like decrease the polygon of objects. You can proceed more comfortably with Blender, and texture Photoshop, you can obtain the objects without any problem. Well, Arzu, I am going to come into scene. Can you just put the camera down a bit, because yeah, a bit. If you could just tilt it, is it good? Yes. Okay. Lot. What is lot? Level of details. So we should definitely give importance to this concept, which is, let me just explain. Open world design, world design is what we design. And this open world, when we design it, if the objects, together with the polygons, the details, if we place it the same way, for instance, think of an architectural structure. It has got tiny little uh, parts. If we have the same lot, this would be a burden on the processor, would challenge the HPS. But if, um, for instance, you adjust the lots, you come to Blender, as I said on Blender, there is this easy command. And then if you just like transfer it to Unreal, or else without even doing it on Blender, but on Unreal, this if you set this level of details, again, you can convert the game into a higher performing one. Where did we use that concept, learn that concept together with our team while designing this game? The grass is what you see here. Our friends, when he was placing the grass here, he did not give importance to this load, this optimization. Because of that, the game actually was not opening, turning it on, and was like getting like blocked. And our developer was like coming up with good wordings for us. And then we learned the concept lots, and you can adjust based on the distance, a grass, or else a building, let's say a building. If you like divide it into two polygons, you can adjust the load based on distance. And once you get closer, you would see the building in detail. If you distant from it, these actually visuals get more vague. That is how you can adjust. Now let's come to the other aspect, which is post editing. It's really important because yes, Unreal, everything is given ready-made to us, but those adjustments, settings you have to do, for instance, the sunlight, the directional light, when you rotate it, like the days or the position of the days change, yes, but based on the sunlight where it hits on the cars. In order for it to create that soft glaze, you should do small touches and adjustments there. If you do not oversee them with your post edit, that scene would become really brilliant. And lighting, as you all know, is a great advantage on Unreal. Unreal 5, I didn't have the chance to go through it, and I want to do so. I'm craving for it in order to find out the new features. I'm really curious to find out after my evaluation on my LinkedIn account. The information that I find out, I share it with my followers. I want to update them because I receive plenty of questions as to how things can be done. So I give like small tips on my LinkedIn account. And if I go through Unreal 5, I want to share a short article about it. Apart from that, another important uh, thing is map UV. If, for instance, the object, for instance, sometimes we can do the modeling ourselves, or else we can get it from a ready-made place. And we have to actually check the UV maps, because sometimes they are wrong, and the UV maps, the good ones, are not open, turned on. That's why, again, us, the developers, in order not to hear good words from the developers, we have to from the very beginning do the necessary adjustments so that we don't face a problem later on. Because if UVs are not turned on properly, to give an example from the problem that we faced in our first game, let me just show it. These are the reflecting windows, the bottom, there was this pivoting problem there, and only the interior of the salon is seen, a small part of it. First of all, when I first did it, it didn't attract me, but my friends pointed out to that. Always we see the interior of the salon, that pivots adjustment would only stayed on a certain part of the place that I was modeling. So with all the window reflection, we used to see the same spots being reflected. So pivot adjustments are really important and you should give importance to them. And finally, we do our design on Unreal, our lighting, we place it, our lights. That scene may be a bit obscure in the very first place. It's because when we first place it, without calculating the object, it arrives in dark, and as it is we progress in the building of that project, we have to see the real lights, and then we have to build it on Unreal. If we do not build it on Unreal, we would have visual problems. Build, unfortunately, based on the performance of your computer, the speed can change, the speed of build. With really light scenes, for instance, if there are lights without any self movement, then they prolong the process a lot. So please do not feel pity, just like do not feel pity if it's like operates for a long period of time. You just grab your coffee and tea and wait until the processing takes place. Okay, and here we see yeah, you cannot link on the click on the link. For you to be able to Google it, here you have the B-Links templates, the headline, telling a powerful story through UE4 environments. Uh, so what is taking wins our concept creation and how design is done. And in this respect, people who are interested in this area, this is going to be a really beneficial link. Please check out that link as well. Let's briefly the multidisciplinary people, are they beneficial for this sector? As you see, I think that they are. I don't know whether you think the same. Well, if you like make comments about it, it would be really good. According to me, yes, there is, because everybody, I mean, adds something to the project that they are involved in. This goes the same for professions. If you receive this training, with that base of training, education, you can add more to this sector. I talked you through architectural approach. Maybe tomorrow you would like tackle design from an engineering point of view. I'm sure that there are plenty of things which I do not see, but which you see, because everyone's imagination has got plenty of beauties. Well, the answer to the first section was yes. And in the second part, is it important architectural approach? Yes, definitely, because I have ex explained architectural approach is really important. The colors that we use, or else the structure, the construction of the building is really important. Now, yes, supposing that you want to do this job, but you don't know where to start from. When I first met the Unreal Engine, I used to know Blender, Maya. However, on the other hand, we had to like rush for the project. We had to do everything really fast with the team. So we were thinking of what we should do, the texture, so on and so forth. And then I discovered that Unreal had really nice resources, and still they are valid. That's why I just want to share these. First of all, this Unreal Market, please benefit from it for sure, because Unreal Market has got 3 objects that they update, and also this doesn't go the same for environmental design only in terms of its code, animation, design objects. You can find plenty of things on this market, and also you can make money. For instance, you are a modeler or else an environmental designer. You create like scenes, you do environmental design on your own. If you want to sell them on Unreal Market, you can do the sales and make money. And apart from that, with Unreal, the suppliers, there is this quick skill mega scans, which is I used to do that on Substance, but there is no need for it at all, because if you want to come up with something emergent, quick skill mega scans, they are perfect. And you can find all sorts of objects easily. You can add materials immediately, and as a plugin, if you add it on Unreal, you do not have to log on to the website and withdraw it. And there is this thing called Quexel Bridge, which is an application. If you download it, you don't have to get necessary data from the website. On Bridge application, you can transfer these to Unreal, or else you can make use of the plugin. Substance, as you all know, there is Adobe Substance. You can benefit from that. And for environmental design, if you want to see really plenty of tutorials, because each tutorial means a new feature. In this respect, you can attend Udemy's workshops. And if ArtStation, there are environmental designs carried out by international artists so that they broaden your horizon. You could say that Behance, Dribble, well, yes, they are for mostly 2D artists, but do not think like that, because everything would add creativity to people in design. The multidisciplinary culture, as I have defended in my presentation. If you check out on the multidisciplinary areas, it would be more impactful. So Behance or else Dribble, for instance, some people, they kind of call these axe models and hammer models, and in 2D there is this modeling going on. And why did I bring this up? Because we were having a conversation, and I have a look at Ice Dribble, so I had advised him. That's why you can have a look at it. And you can also come across many good things on Pinterest. This goes the same for LinkedIn. And also on Instagram, there are millions of accounts. It's impossible to access all of them, but Instagram has got like accounts, hashtag those sections. There you can do hashtag follow up, and you can write like design, environmental design, 2D, 3D design, object design, so on and so forth. So these hashtags, if you follow it, then with that, all design examples shared with that hashtag can appear, which would be another source of inspiration for you. And also, YouTube is the apple of our eye. And thanks to YouTube, we reinforce everything that we learn, anything that is missing, that YouTube should definitely give advertisements on me, because I have promoted it a lot, I guess, follow YouTube channels. And I've used audio and 3 pictures. And also, if you are delivering a presentation, source is really important, especially you designers would know it very well. You should make references to resources. Thank you so very much for listening to me, friends. If after this presentation, if you've got any questions that crosses your mind or else get more information, you can get in touch with me over LinkedIn or else Instagram. And this may seem like a really extreme example, but on Spotify, when I do design, there are music that I listen to, increasing creativity. Each week, I prepare lists. If you want to find them out, if you want to increase your creativity, these tracks increase mine. And Arzu Çelik on Spotify, you can find me, access my account, and access music that would increase your creativity. On LinkedIn, you can ask questions. Again, on LinkedIn, if you get in touch for more detailed correspondence, I can share you my email address on LinkedIn. So please follow me and get in touch with me on LinkedIn and Instagram if you've got questions. Thank you so very much for listening to me. I thank the Indieway family for their nice invitation and their event. Love and cheers. Thank you so very much, Arzu Hanım, for your participation. We don't have question for the Q&A. We've actually gone over our time. So I just went on, I guess. Huh? Yes, thank you so very much for your participation, the information that you've shared so far. Thank you so very much. Take good care of yourselves. You do as well.